Hello everyone, my name is Sari Garcia and today we're joined with Arlene Falcon from Tye-Dye Everything in Musco, Idaho. She has been featured in British Vogue and has been reached out by different celebrities well known such as Lorde and Justin Bieber. Make sure to check out her website at tye-dyeeverything.com.
Hey Cougs, my name is Arlene Falcon and owner of Tye-Dye Everything. I've been tie-dyeing for over 30 years and been in my downtown Moscow location for 21 years since 1999. Started tie-dyeing in 1989. And today I'm going to show you how to tie-dye some things. Now, you're going to have your CougPacks by now, which is going to contain a tote bag, this fun bag. You're going to get some socks and a kitchen towel, and you're also going to get a tapestry. And so I'm going to show you how to tie-dye them. Now, some things need to get pre-washed, especially the canvas bag, because there's sizing in it, and once you get it wet and pre-wash it, it really helps you dye it better. And so to pre-wash it, you can simply put it in the sink with a little bit of soap, squish it around a little bit, get the soap out, and then you're going to be good to go. Now also, the dyes that you're going to be getting first are different than the dyes that I have. When you tie-dye things, when you dye anything, it needs a mordant, something to set the dye. And my mordant is soda ash. I soak my things in a bucket that has the soda ash and water. I wring it out in the machine, and then it's the perfect dampness to tie-dye. Your dyes has the soda ash in those little bottles. So the dye container has the soda ash, which helps set the dye. So you don't have to soak it in soda ash first, but I do advise to get the garments wet, and then you don't have to pre-wash everything, but you get them wet and then wring them out in your washing machine because it'll have the right dampness. If your clothing is too wet, then the dye has nowhere to go and you get a lot more white. So that's why we want to wring it out properly. If it's got liquid water from it not being wrung out enough, then you're gonna it's not going to take the dye well. So I'm going to show you some different folding methods. Tie-dye involves folding the garment, applying the dye to the garment, letting it hang out overnight, and then washing it the next day. So the first part is folding. And there's basically three or four different folding patterns that we use. Now I'm going to use the towel to show you some of the different folding patterns because it's a big flat piece. So the main fold is the spiral, and you take it in the center and you twist around. You just twist, 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 and use, sorry about that, one hand to keep it down and the other hand to follow it along. And that's what your spiral looks like. In your kit, you're going to have rubber bands. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how good all of those are thicker rubber bands. My rubber bands are thinner, and they do really well. If they're too thick, things flop up a little bit, so you'll just have to hope that the rubber bands work. And then for the spiral pattern, you just slide the rubber bands under, and I've got 4 rubber bands that I'm going to slide under here, each one bisecting the center, and that's what the spiral pattern looks like. And then the way you tie-dye it is each triangle gets a different color. And so that's the spiral pattern. I'm going to dye this in a spiral pattern later, but I'm first going to show you, actually I think I'm going to leave this in a spiral pattern because it's already folded up, and I'll show you some of the other patterns that you can do, especially because these are good for the socks. So the spiral pattern doesn't work that great on the socks. I suppose a person can spiral it down at the bottom. You can do that. I noticed that it just makes bands of color, so it's not the best use of your spiral. Another pattern for the socks that is good, though, is the crinkle pattern. And sometimes we crinkle them, we put them side to side like that. And the crinkle pattern is just what it sounds like. You just kind of crinkle it up. And when I crinkle them, I try to keep it as flat as possible, because if you have a lot of areas like this where it's really bulky like this, then there's going to be a lot more white. So I try to keep them as flat as possible, and you crinkle it up, and then you put your rubber bands on it. And like I said, hopefully the rubber bands from the kit will be good enough that it won't just make everything go like that, whop up. So this is the crinkle pattern, where you can crinkle your garment, and you can do the crinkle for anything. You can do it on the on the wash towel, but because the wash towel is a nice square thing, I would recommend using the spiral, because it's the best way to show off your tie-dye there. And the crinkle is fun for the socks. I can show you what some crinkle socks will look like when I'm done showing you how to fold it. So that's a pair of crinkle socks. Now another way to fold the socks is another folding pattern is using the accordion fold. And the accordion fold is like you used to make a fan, where you just go back and forth and back and forth, and that's what we do on the socks. So I usually start in the middle by the heel, and you pick it up and you just kind of make these pleats. You just pick it up and you fold it like that. It's just, I've been doing it for 30 years, so it comes really easy to me. And so, like I said, you pick it up and then you make that pleat. I mean, you could go up and down and back and forth, but you just pick it up and it makes the pleats like that. And then it's a pair of socks, and so here's the two heels. I put it together like that, and then I put the rubber bands on. And then I put 5 or 6 rubber bands on, or you'll get 5 or 6 bands of color. And if you wanted to do it in rainbow, then actually you'll use 5 rubber bands, and it will give you 6 bands. I'll show you in a minute. You kind of get them evenly spaced apart, and then you have 6 bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you wanted to do the rainbow pattern, so you can do 1 of each color. So that's another way to do the socks, doing the vertical, the bands, the folding pattern of the accordion fold. And then another easy way to do the socks is to simply put them together like this, and you can use either string or rubber band and just band them up like this, and then you'll get bands like this. And I'm going to finish banding this up real quick, and then I'll show you what the socks look like in these 3 different patterns. I'll show you some of my finished socks, because we sell socks all the time. And as you can see, I've been doing this for a while, so it goes really quick. You kind of have to double up the rubber bands, because if you just put them on big like this, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to hold anything. It doesn't. Part of what makes it happen is when it's tight, and that you can put the colors between and it resists. So you have to have some tension there. So this rubber band's a little smaller, so I can put that there. But even that's a little loose, so I'm going to double it up. So doing the bands like this just takes a little more time to double up the rubber bands and get them on there. That's why I double them up beforehand. And put them on. And now I'm not sure if these socks are 100% cotton. They might be, and so they might take this dye really well. This is what the bands look like. This one will kind of look like this, where you have different bands of color. And this one is the crinkle pattern, where you have a crinkle pattern, and it's very random, and you can do whatever you want on the colors. And then the vertical one that I said, where you do the pleating, and where you do the accordion fold, that looks like this, is going to look like this. And I call them vertical because the colors are going up and down the whole thing. And so that's how you fold them. And I've got one more thing left to fold, and that is the tapestry. And so I'm going to set my dyed things off to my folded things off to the side for a minute. And when you handle them, it's best to keep them flat, because after I finish folding the tapestry, then I'm gonna do a demonstration of how to tie-dye them. So here's the tapestry that you're gonna have, And so the best thing to do if you want to do a spiral pattern on them, you want to find the center of the tapestry. You fold it in 4, and then after you fold in 4, you'll pinch the center and then open it up, and then there you have the center. Now, if you wanted to do different patterns on this, you can. I have the center pinched so I know that that's where the center is if I want to do the spiral. One of the things about the spiral pattern is you can fold it in half and do a spiral. You can fold it in 4 and do a spiral in the center, and all of them will have different results. I'm just going to do the flat spiral, and I'm going to, once again, I'm going to take it in the center, and I'm going to twist, and trying to keep it flat with one hand, and guide it around with the other. And a person can, if you're scared to do it, you can go to YouTube videos. There are tons of videos on how to do it, but I say don't be scared and just have fun. And one of my other expressions is tie-dye is forgiving. And I realized that forgiving is forgiving, and it's a great pun. It's a pun unto itself. And tie-dye is forgiving because there are no mistakes. You just have a good time, and it's a good way to express the joy of color. So this is the spiral pattern, and it takes a few minutes to get it. Like you can see, I use one hand to hold it flat, and the other hand to guide it along. And try to keep it as flat as possible because then you don't get as much white, and it's more even. So, but you can do it however. So this is the spiral pattern, and sometimes you can do a crinkle around the spiral. If you want to do that, here's the spiral in the center, and you can crinkle around it. You could do different patterns around the spiral, but I'm just going to keep going all the way across. Or you can also do patterns with the accordion fold on your tapestry. We do a diamond pattern sometimes, and that again, it's folded in 4, just like you do the fans, and then you do that pleating thing, and you get a diamond pattern. And I can show you the diamond pattern real quick by showing you one of my bandanas that I have in that diamond pattern. So now I'm going to put the rubber bands on. You put the four rubber bands on, and then you're going to get 8 triangles to color. Oop, sometimes rubber bands break, and hopefully your rubber bands will serve you well. So there's the spiral. Each triangle is going to get a different color. I'm going to show you one other thing. Okay, so here's a finished bandana, kind of like in that diamond pattern. And the way this gets folded is it gets folded in 4. And I do it on the angle because it works better for a bandana. And so you fold it in 4, and then you do your pleating, just like we did on the socks, that accordion fold. And this is a fun thing to do for the tapestry if you're inspired to do something like that. And then once you get it folded like that, then if you have string, you can use string, or you put your rubber bands around and go all the way down, and then you can dye it. So this makes the pleated diamond pattern with string or rubber bands. I often use string for these because it's just a lot easier. But then you get something like this, and each band gets a different color. So that's a way to do the pleated fold on something bigger also. Okay, now on to the tie-dyeing. So I'm going to tie-dye on newspaper because that's what I recommend for you guys to do. It is the easiest way to clean up the mess, and when I go to schools, I tie-dye with newspaper with the kids. So here's here's your paper, and I'm going to put the towel on here. And you guys, and I'm going to put on my gloves because whenever I tie-dye, I wear gloves. And you guys are going to have your pre-mixed bottles of dye. I've got my bottles of dye. And I'm going to bring some colors over. get the rainbow colors. I've got red, orange, yellow, and green. I have 2 blues and I have 2 purples. I like to use those. And so the way this works is each triangle is going to get a different color. It's that simple. Now, I often start with the yellow because the yellow gets lost the most. I'm going to take my mask down because it's easier while I'm talking and describing things. Had a customer, so the mask went back up. So I start with the yellow, and you just squirt, you kind of color in the lines. That's what it basically is. It's basically coloring in the lines. And this is going to be rainbow order, so it's going to be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. But you can use whatever colors you like. If you like blues, use your blues and blues. If you like purple, you use your blues and purples. Whatever you have enough colors of, and whatever brings you joy, because that's what it's all about. And so I'm going to do the rainbow order here, and you just gently squeeze in. Sometimes I'll look inside to see how well it's penetrated, but after you do the first side, you are going to turn it around to the other side. Now, I do have 8 triangles and there's 6 rainbow colors, so that's why I sometimes use 2 of my purple colors and 2 of my blue colors. So if you don't want to use 8 colors, 8 triangles, just use 3 rubber bands and then you'll have 6 triangles. So here are the 2 purples that I have. And if you want to see what color you have, what it's going to look like, just take it, squirt it on the paper and give it a little smudge, and then you can see what the color is going to look like, because it's sometimes hard to tell. As you can see, it's pretty dark here, but this kind of gives you a good idea. So next I'm going to use it. I don't have a lot of this bluebird left, but I'll use what I have here. And you see how dark it is, but when I do that, it shows a beautiful color blue. And then here's the turquoise, and it looks dark, but it washes out much brighter. And then the green. And after you finish the first side, then you have to turn it over. This is where you need your gloves on, and you kind of turn it over on the newspaper, and you know, like there's some green, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to plop it down. And I'm going to go over half, so I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. So instead of putting the yellow straight on the yellow, I'm going to put some of it on the orange and some of it on the yellow. And then for the green, it's going to be half on the yellow and half on the green. And I'm going to do that with the blue also. I've got this darker blue. I'm going to do half and half there. And then I think I might have messed up, but you know what? Tie-dye is forgiving. You never really mess up. Okay, there's that. I'm going to go with the purple. Get the dark purple. And do it half and half. Half on one triangle. But you know, you could just do straight across on the same triangle. Or you can do whatever colors you want on the other side. The point is, you see it kind of messed up. I did the whole triangle. But the point is you have fun with it. And that's why I say tie-dye is forgiving. And there's no mistakes, because it's a lot easier to be kind to yourself that way. And so there you go. This is the first thing dyed. Now, you can just set this aside, but, you know, you can set it aside on the newspaper. You can take your newspaper and find a place to set it. I have these boards that I put it on. Or you can go ahead and put it in a plastic bag. And then you can stack up your bags, because the thing is that you have to let everything sit overnight and you rinse it out tomorrow. When I first started doing tie-dye, it said rinse from 4 to 24, let it sit for 4 to 24 hours. So I looked at my clock at 4 hours, like, okay, we're rinsing, we're cleaning it out, we want to see what we got. But if you let it sit overnight, the colors stay better. So you're going to let it sit overnight and wash it tomorrow. And the instructions do tell you to put it in a bag. And so if you want, you can put it in a bag. It's not essential. Doesn't affect how the dye takes. It's just a matter of space and where you're going to store your done tie-dye so they don't dye and mess other things up, fall on the floor, become a mess. So if you do put them in bags, then you can stack up the bags. So that's the spiral pattern. I'm going to do this one. These are the bands. So here's that. And I'm going to start at the top with the red. I'm going to just squirt in the whole thing. And that's how you get the bands of color. And this is going to look like this, with bands of color like that. And if you want to do different colors, if you want to just do red, orange, and yellow, you could just do red, orange, and yellow. It's fun to use the rainbow colors. This is, I've got one green here. It's a regular emerald green, and I've got a darker green over here. That's the end of that bottle. And then we'll use this blue. And I got a little bit of this blue left, so we'll put that on this one. And then when we go to the other side, we won't have any more of these colors. We'll do something else, because you can do whatever you want. And I've got 3 purples, so I'm going to put on the amethyst, and then I'm going to use the plum. And I've got one more purple that's a little bit lighter. It's called lilac, and I'll put it on this. So there's the lilac. And then, like I said, you turn it over and you do the other side. And because of the bands, I mean, you could put other colors on here, but I'll just keep this straightforward and get the bands on here in the different colors. And as you can see, there's a little bit comes through and then some of it doesn't. And so you just make sure there's enough color on it. And here's the green. I'm going to put the green on both of the spots there. And the turquoise blue. And I didn't have any more of that brighter blue, so I use navy on the other side of this. So we got some navy on this, navy blue. And then I've got the amethyst. And you'll be familiar with the colors in your package, and like I said, you can just put a squirt on the newspaper to kind of see what color it is. And then, so that's the socks. And so if you wanted to put it in a bag, you would just hold it up like this and put it in, kind of curve it around so it doesn't fall onto each other, and then you've got it in a bag. Ziploc bags are good. Non-Ziploc bags work also if you don't have to take it anywhere. And then you could just set it over here with your other ones, and you can set them on top of each other so you have a place for them. This one's the crinkle pattern. Now, when I first started tie-dyeing with kids, man, the kids would dye each one of these little places in a different color. And that is one way to do the crinkle, where let's say you'll take the blue and you'll put some of the blue over there. And then you'll go to the next little triangle and we'll put some purple there. So that's one way to tie-dye the crinkle. The crinkle, you can do whatever you want. And I'm going to put this one in blues and purples. So I've got this blue. I only have one blue left in the navy. There's the amethyst. Here's some lilac. What I tend to do is I just make bands of color like this. I just go straight across. And you would be surprised, it doesn't ever look like it's straight across at all. But it just gives us some control over where things are going, and it tends to come out pretty good. And so I'll put some blue in here. This is going to be mostly purple with some blue because I'm low on my blues. And so that's the part about tie-dye being forgiving. You can do whatever you want. I'll put some of this purple on. And then put the amethyst and the lilac. And then sometimes what I do is I'll go over it with the darker color. If you have a darker navy or a blue, I go over it a little bit. And you don't want to do that too much because it can waste dye and you don't know what you're doing. But that's what gives, this is the crinkle pattern. And sometimes it gives an extra layer to, I can find a pair of socks that has the blue or the black on it to show you what that means. But anyway, when you dye one side and you turn it over, and you use the same colors on the other side. You can use different colors on the other side, totally different colors, and you get totally something different. One of the problems is, I want to warn people about brown. Purple and yellow make brown. orange and purple can make brown, orange and blue make brown. So you have to be careful when you use the other side and use different colors, that you don't want to get too much brown unless you don't care. So that's about mixing colors. I'm going to throw fuchsia on the other side. This is going to be a nice bright color that's going to work well with these colors. So I just find making bands of color like this is an easy way to do the crinkle part. I used to do this type of thing, just squirt dye on it, but I found that it was more sporadic and I just liked it better in doing bands of colors. So that's it about that. So now that's those pairs. And again, I'm going to get a plastic bag. And it doesn't have to be a Ziploc bag. Here's a produce bag. Just stick it in there. And then the main purpose for putting it in a plastic bag is it's an easy place for it to stack, where it's going to be out of the way and not get in any trouble for anybody. And then the last thing that I'm going to demonstrate, I can just fold this newspaper over, is doing these bands. And this one we will do in the rainbow colors. And again, here's your heel part. So maybe we'll do the heel part in the red and then this part will be in the blue. So we'll start with the heel part, and here again, you're just following the lines. That's what tie-dye basically, it's coloring in the lines, but you have fun with color and you can be creative in terms of how you apply the color. And this pattern is what makes the vertical stripes like this. And again, what you do on the other side is going to help determine how the pattern comes out. So, and you can see I'm kind of going a little bit over the lines, but that's okay. And here's the green, and then the blue, and then the purple. Here's my plum. And what I am going to do on the other side of this, because it comes out very neat, is I am going to do, instead of doing the same thing and getting the vertical stripes, I'm going to take one color and I'm going to put navy on the whole thing. And then you get these bands coming across the whole thing. And you can do that with any color. The darker color is a nice contrast. Or you can just go right over all the lines. In fact, maybe I'll do that. What I'm going to do is, to give it a little contrast, instead of on the red, I'm going to put the amethyst. So I'm going to move them over one. I started with the purple, and now on the orange, I'm going to do the red. And then I'm going to go, and then you just got to keep your rainbow order in mind. And the orange, and then the yellow, and green, and I'm going to do the blue, make sure the blue goes onto the purple a little bit, and then I'll give the amethyst another hit over here. And there you've got the socks, and because I moved them over a little bit, that's how you get the patterning in it. The darker lines there are from when I put dark colors on that, and if I would have done the whole thing in dark, all those dark lines would have gone across. Instead, I just changed it up a little bit, and here are the socks. It doesn't have to be a Ziploc, and just gonna put it in a plastic bag. And then, like I said, the washing instructions are to let it sit overnight. And what I tell people is under running water, you're going to take the rubber bands off and then rinse it under the running warm water to get the extra dye out. Your hands don't get so stained if you do it under running water, or wear your gloves. If you pick the dyes up and handle them without under running water, they will get stained. Wear your gloves. And then you rinse it and wring it out into under the running water until it gets clear. I tell my people, let the machine do the work so we don't spend too much time rinsing things out, because a lot of dye comes out. And then you're going to wash it in the washing machine. You can wash it by itself in the sink. I mean, I don't recommend. I guess you can put all of these things in a small load and use Dawn dish soap. I heard that the blue Dawn dish soap is the best to use for the tie-dye. Don't use a lot. You don't want to oversuds it. you can use Dawn dish soap for your washing. And you can do it in both the rinsing. I have a 2-sink system so that I rinse something out in one sink and let the second sink be a holding sink with a little bit of soap in it. And then after everything gets washed, then you'll rinse it out one more time to put it in your washing machine. So that's the way. If you don't have a 2-sink system, find a bucket maybe, let them hang out in the bucket, or just put them off to the side in the sink. Figure out a way where you can rinse them under one sink and have a holding tank while you're getting ready to rinse everything, because you'll have a few things to rinse and you can put them all together in the washing machine with the soap. So the last thing that I have folded up is the tapestry, and it's right over here. I folded this up in the spiral, and we're going to make a beautiful rainbow spiral on this one. And let's see, I'm out of my blue green and I'm out of the turquoise, the bluebird, but let me see what other colors I might want to use. Well, maybe I'll put pink in it. We'll work it out. Okay, so I'm going to make a beautiful rainbow spiral here, and I like to start off with the yellow because the yellow gets lost the most. So even when I'm doing the spiral, I start the rainbow. I'll start off with the yellow. And each triangle gets dyed. You've seen me do this before. The tapestry takes a little bit more. And I would definitely recommend pre-washing the tapestry and the bag. Only because there's often sizing in the material, and that makes it harder to tie-dye. And to pre-wash, you could do it in the washing machine, or you could just do it in the sink. Fill up your sink with some warm water, put a little soap in it, agitate the bag and the tapestry material, make sure you're getting the sizing out, and then wring it out and you're good to go. You can wring it out in your washing machine using your spin cycle, and then you get all the extra moisture out. I hope you had fun watching me tie-dye these things, and that you learned something on how to make some cool tie-dyes. And thanks for joining me, and make sure to enter the giveaway by submitting a picture of your creation on Instagram at SEBWSUTC. Go Cougs!